Hello. Doing a little different stream today. We'll be painting. Some people to show up, I guess.
Oh, wait. Shit. Sorry. That one. There we go.
Hold on.
I put it on the wrong screen.
Oh.
Mostly it was just the reference.
Hmm. Doing oil painting by special request. Got
Our internet
Hey,
might be
Chuck.
weird today. You both just popped into existence.
Oh. Hey Payne, hey Chuck. So we'll do the Bob Ross thing, show the colors we're working with. We've got titanium white, yellow ochre, the Bob Ross kind,
The stuff you find at Value Village.
that's right, burnt sienna. This one is Georgian, is Daler Rowney. not my favorite paint, these ones. They're okay. I've also got Van Dyke Brown and French Ultramarine. No cadmium yellow today. That's going to have to stand in for my ivory black because I don't have any on hand. And I've got an alizarin crimson, which I may not even use. Probably won't.
Hey, what's your reference?
No, you're not missing the blue, Chuck. It's the if you mix blue and brown together, you kind of get a black that's pretty similar to an ivory black. One thing you may or may not be missing is a palette knife. Not necessary, but I find them pretty useful. This one is an old one. This was my mom's from when she was in art school. So that's the mixed brown and blue.
Zoom in on that?
No, it's just for color. So I got that. And some burnt sienna.
I
That's what all I'm gonna need for to start. I have a few brushes, nothing fancy. I'll probably end up doing a significant amount of it with this cheap bristle brush. I like those. So to start, I'm just going to get my canvas toned off a little bit.
What does that mean?
I am going to put some color on it so it's not all white. Now, if you're doing oil paints and you find that the smell is a bother for you, this step can get a little fumey because you're working with a fair amount of thinner over a fairly broad area.
I'm the canary in the coal mine today.
I mean, you said you could handle it. But yeah, what I would recommend, if the smell does bother you at all, is you can either do this step with acrylic paint or do it ahead of time and leave it outside for a few minutes and let it just kind of fume off.
You can paint oil paint on top of acrylics?
You can absolutely paint oil paint on top of acrylics. You can't go the other way, but you can definitely do it. Oil on acrylic is fine. A lot of thinner for this. Probably God, I don't know. I don't know what the mix ratio with this would be. It's just really thinned down.
Just to get translucency, or?
Oh, it's just to make it thin so it doesn't build up a lot when I'm just basically slapping it on the canvas. And for canvas, I'm using Masonite panel, just primed with regular acrylic gesso. The other tool that I super recommend for this job is one of either these guys, the proportional dividers, or in this case, because my my reference that I have printed out is 1:1, I'm just going to use these steel dividers because I don't like getting oil paint stuff all over my nice plastic ones. I may not use that a whole ton. So once I've got it primed a little bit, I'm going to basically just start laying in my portrait. Figure out where she's going to sit. And you really can't see that on cam.
You can see it.
You can see it? Okay.
Yeah. So you're just kind of mushing it into the wetness?
I am just... Yeah, there's going to be a lot of mushing it into the wetness.
Okay.
I was going to... I would have primed this beforehand. Yeah. But I wanted to make sure that people could see that there was no, like... No cheating, no little drawing underneath. Not that that's cheating, but it's not necessary. I wanted to show that if possible.
It's a flex.
It's not a flex. It's the way that I prefer to paint. And a lot of people are very hesitant to just start in paint.
Mm-hmm.
So it's...
Is that something I'd do?
Yeah, like it's tempting for a lot of people to do a lot of drawing. And you don't need it, and I don't feel like it's helpful. Because it's better to stay kind of loose with things in the beginning. And I'm really just hacking in some like things that I can easily observe. So where the shadow is on her neck, she's got like a very strong kind of jawline. So I'm going to get those things in first a bit. Then hopefully I'm going to show you guys a trick for if things don't go to plan. Actually, I'll definitely show it to you. Just may not need it.
I was like, are you gonna mess it up on purpose?
I'm not messing it up on purpose, but I'm definitely not being careful. But I wouldn't be careful really anyway at this stage.
One simple trick Bob Ross hates. 4 to 5 painters agree.
Yeah. I do have a printed reference that I'm just going to use for checking things like the height and width of her face.
Should I have printed that off smaller on purpose just to make it more difficult on you?
I mean, you could have printed it off smaller. I just would have used the proportional dividers instead.
No, I know. Point. Because I just printed it out as it came out.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That is one of the Hammer horror vampires. I believe that was I forget which film she was in.
She was in that. Didn't we watch that somewhat recently?
Fairly. Her name is Andrea Melli. So I'm just checking her width at the temples. Looks like I drew her in a little bit wide, so I can narrow that up. There. There's also no like set things that you can reference. Like a lot of people have like, oh, do across the brows and the height of the whole head and that stuff. You definitely can. But you can use just any reference points that are good and visible for you. So I'm doing chin to hairline right now. Actually, I may ditch the dividers myself because I could paint her just a little bit larger. I don't want to fiddle with my proportional dividers. But I will show you guys how to use it. I probably just won't. Brides of Dracula from 1960. What? Yes, it does sound like something I would do. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little oversized from my reference. Just super easy to do. You just set this guy to whatever by moving this thing. It lets you change size very easily. Then you can just transfer point to point. So measure the eyes on your reference, flip it over, measure the eyes on your thing. Very handy tool. Just
paint right on the Brides of Dracula.
It could be. It probably. Uh, 1960. Yeah, that's possible. Because right now I'm looking at a colorized version. But yeah, it's easy to start pretty rough and work your way in, except the lid on this thing is really on there. I might need to grab a pair of pliers to get the lid off this bad boy.
I'm assuming the white is kind of essential to this process.
The white is pretty essential to this process, yes. Alright. I'm going to need to grab a pair of pliers real quick.
It's intermission music. She does have some serious fangage. I don't remember if it was any good. I don't remember if it was any good or not, because I may or may not have been entirely paying attention.
May or may not.
Shockingly.
What?
The movie. I said I don't remember if it was any good or not.
I mean, it's a Hammer movie.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Yes.
Let's all go to the lobby. Grab ourselves a treat.
But the Mastodon version.
Okay, I can't sing the master.
I still think that's one of their
Also,
best
we don't want to
songs.
get copyrighted? Oh.
So my recommendation is keep your paint reasonably thin to start while you're just kind of figuring out your sketch. But don't be afraid to put some, some different colors and stuff down. It's fine. There's no need to like start black and white and work your way to color. I do like a glass palette. Best ones I've found are, let's take a step and get some yellow ochre in here too. The best ones I've found are old shells from like refrigerators, anything that's tempered glass. It'll have a nice edge ground on it and stuff already. Just warm that up. I really like a glass palette for sure. So, one of the issues that a lot of people have with oil paint to start is it tends to get really muddy on them.
No. Do not want.
Ah. And that
They do.
yeah, the muddiness is just because the paint is like you can keep mixing it with itself for a long time. It's not like acrylic paints or watercolors where they tend to kind of settle for you. The easiest way to avoid that is keeping your paint on the thinner side. Yeah, you could do an entire painting practically in acrylic and then do oil washes over the top if that was a look you wanted.
Why would you do that?
If you were more comfortable working in acrylic, but there were a couple of things that you really just couldn't get. If you had a painting that you started, like let's say you wanted to paint when you were traveling and you didn't want to buy materials while you were someplace or travel with obviously flammable liquids, you know, you could do starts and sketches in acrylic, or technically even watercolor, I guess, and then work over it. If the smell is an issue for you, then you probably might as well just work with acrylics. There's really very little that you can't do with acrylic paints that you can do with oil paints.
Any examples?
Acrylic paints are not by their nature as transparent as oils, so they don't do quite as nice a job for layering. But I mean, you can use good mediums and with acrylics, and it'll get rid of most of that. It's mostly a feel thing, honestly. Like if you prefer the way oil paints blend, you can definitely have a real preference for that, and that makes a lot of sense. There's also a bit of a fancy factor with oil paint.
Yeah, I can see that.
So obviously if you're doing it for professional reasons and you don't mind working in oils, you might as well. So I'm trying to keep this paint pretty good and thin as I do this layout. I'm just looking for angles and values mostly. So it would be a good time to check some of your proportions. As soon as you can start to kind of see what you are doing. So sometimes it's helpful to put some of these like reference marks in maybe a little earlier than you would think. I'm not worried about detail at all, but if I kind of have an idea of where her eyes are, where her eyebrow is, things that are really visible in the particular image that you're working on. And I'm gonna try and keep up with the chat, but I'm also gonna be working along quick. Okay. So another thing that is helpful to do, you can actually kind of scrape and remove paint a little. Either with the brush or the palette knife. So that it doesn't get thick on you.
So I'm assuming the type of oil painting where they like use the palette knife to just like butter that cake. That's like a whole different animal.
That is kind of a different thing.
One for the texture on purpose.
Yeah. I mean, you can do a lot of textural stuff, but I don't think that takes a pretty delicate touch. Yeah. Well, if you want it to look like anything, if you're just throwing paint around, then I guess go ahead. But if you are, if you're wanting it to look like an image, then you've got to be pretty careful with what you lay down. And also you're going to be just dropping in I mean, I'm not going to try and show it. That was never really the way that I painted. So I don't think that would be terribly instructive. To try and demo that. So one good thing about this image for this particular project is the film itself didn't take like a huge amount of detail. It's the image I have is a still from the movie or something. So it's not as likely to get kind of lost figuring out little tiny things. You don't need super tight details for a painting to look really good most of the time. My general recommendation is to look for specificity more than detail, trying to get shapes where they belong is a bigger deal than making sure that you get every little hair in place. So
Beautiful.
making sure that she's got the correct angle to the cheekbone and the jawline is going to go a lot further in making a decent painting. Than painting every tiny little wrinkle and detail. So far in the painting, I'm still being pretty heavy-handed with the brush. And really scrubbing down. So the paint, even if I'm working with it without a lot of thinner or medium in, is still laying down pretty thinly. And that's all to do with your pressure. If you start trying to use too much goop, you'll probably find that it gets real slippery on you. And it's hard to make it, or it's hard to keep things from getting muddy. When I start building up paint, how do you know the right amount of thinner to use? It is primarily a feel thing, but in general, if you use more at the start of a painting and less as you go along, you're going to be better off. I usually don't use much, even at the start. It's more paint than goop. That, I mean, you are going to pick up what you already put down with oil paint if you're working this way. There's kind of a principle that thicker paints and thinner paints will stick to each other. So like if you're trying to put a little highlight in an area that you've used a lot of thinner, if you go with a thicker paint, it'll kind of grab for you. So like thick paint sticks to thin paint, and thin paint sticks to thick paint.
If it's the same, it doesn't stick?
If it's the same, it's still gonna stick, but it's not. It's kind of it's kind of the way it feels like it'll lay. If you're trying to thin a paint way down and get that tiny little highlight in the eye, if the paint that was already down there was quite thin, it doesn't tend to grab quite as much. So it's easier to kind of contrast the paints when you're getting those last little bits and you don't want to like push hard with the brush. So I'm just starting to like begin some of the refining. And I'm going to work largely around her face, because this is going to be a very fast demo. A couple hours for a full portrait is, well, was doable for me.
You gotta practice?
Been a hot minute. I haven't touched oil paints in probably at least 2 years. I've done very little painting at all. I haven't done any oil painting in at least a couple of years.
Imagine it handled a lot differently than the underglazes and stuff. I mean, not even counting the fact that you use an airbrush and not paintbrushes.
Yeah, no, I was using acrylics. I have not used oils. I think since I got my residency in Canada. For sure, and I rarely ever used oils here. So I can see an issue developing.
Yep.
Her one eye, this eye, is in the wrong spot.
Too high, too low, too far out.
Too close in. He's got a very wide set eye. So I can show you the fun trick, which the hell did I put that news? There it is. So this does work at any time during the painting if you start to lose it. A little bit of non-shiny newsprint. We'll take up some of that paint, and then you won't be just smearing it around trying to like fix a thing.
This Is that better than like paper towel or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Paper towel is gonna like the industrial type paper towel isn't too bad, but even regular paper towel is, or even this stuff is gonna kind of smear along and things like that. So we're just gonna widen this filtrum a tiny bit, or the that's not the filtrum, the space between the eyebrows.
The unibrow region?
The unibrow region. Really anything super absorbent is probably less good. Newspaper, the non-shiny newspaper really does work the best. If you've got like a lot of paint on there that you got to get off, you can just obviously scrape it down with your palette knife. It's actually not a terrible idea if you're going to be working in this kind of method. When you get to the end of a painting session, unless you've got stuff going pretty much the way you like it, you can just scrape the whole thing down a little bit, or do the newspaper trick.
Just take off the excess?
Just take off the excess paint and it'll help help you kind of get a fresher start for your next session. But yeah, it's not a bad idea, just like if things start to go wrong, because it's really easy for oil paint to get very smeary on you. There's the crazy eyes we were looking for. It's one of the other reasons why I like this image, because she has just a really unique face, and there are times when people are like, especially when you're starting into painting and things like that, and you kind of get a face that you're comfortable with, and everybody looks the same. And there's the kind of bit that everybody's portraits kind of look a little like them, because that's the face they're most used to seeing. But yeah, it's a good idea to, when you're learning, if you can, paint as many kind of varied faces, so you're not leaning into the learning how to paint just any face. You're learning how to paint the exact face that you're trying to work with. Even better, if you're really disciplined, is spend a little bit of time working on like still life. And really just observing trying to paint the exact shape and value that you see. So once I get a little bit further along, I'm going to start applying a little bit more paint and taking a little bit of pressure off.
Oh,
As I'm brushing, it's going to be a little bit less, of a scrub and a little bit more of a touch.
floaty.
A little more floaty. That's when things start to get a little trickier. You can basically carry on doing this real scrubby stuff. If the paint gets too thick, take it off with the newspaper, kind of indefinitely. I do not pre-mix my tones. I know that is a thing that some people do. And I really truly can't think of a good reason. It might not be a bad idea to try mixing some colors quite specifically, like to practice color mixing, or even like tonality, like take paint and just try and make like a color wheel type thing, or try and mix some values and really try to mix accurately visually, like halfway in between two values and stuff like that. That is a common beginning painting assignment to do yourself a color wheel. I have done it. I don't know if I agree with using it as a beginning painting tool. For the simple fact that I think it's going to be very tedious for you, and unless you've kind of got your hand in already, I really don't know what kind of person is going to sit down and do a color wheel without having painted for quite a long time and be engaged with that thing to the point where it's of use to them. Like, I think most people are just not, they're just not built that way.
I think it was one of our earlier assignments.
Yep.
School.
It absolutely is.
Wash.
It's
Hateful.
yeah, I mean, I've even taught the assignment when I was TAing for another professor. But
so you don't think the very basics of color theory is
no, I think the very basics of color theory is extremely useful. It's just I did not see anybody in the class sitting there paying attention to what they were doing and learning what that could teach you. I saw them chatting with their friends and half-assing their way through the assignment to get it done.
can see that.
And like, I don't know. I'm not about throwing out busy work. Remixing your tones might be bad. Like if that's something that you can engage with, Chuck, and like, you know, you're paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it, that might be good. I think pre-mixing your tones for painting might make it a little more interesting, and you'll get a little more time kind of handling paint, where you're worried about just handling paint and not like what feature am I working on. So if that's how you work, maybe try it. But I think the artists that I've known who did do that as part of their practice, they were doing it because speed was very important to what they were doing. So if you're a landscape painter that likes to paint out in the landscape, like, shit changes real fast. If you're trying to paint a sunset or something, you've got 15-20 minute blocks before the light has changed significantly enough that it does make a difference. So if you can remix your tones so that you can just, you know, really like really focus in on that scene out there, and you're like trying to whip through it, so because you've got your colors pre-mixed, you know, you can, if it makes it easier to do it faster once you get to actually doing it, the actual painting, then that's useful. But I was not that kind of landscape painter. I like my studio. It's comfortable. The light doesn't change. Photos don't move. And by the time I was doing by the time I was doing paintings from life with like models and stuff, I'd already been doing mixing tones as I needed them for so long. I was pretty fast. Wasn't cumbersome. I actually find it at this early stage of painting, a lot of times your tone is almost less important than the directions. I mean, that if that works for you, if that's a way in, then that might be of value. It hasn't been my experience, but I know people that do it. The only caution I would have for pre-mixing your values is there are a lot of rules and things that people will either tell you or people will make for themselves, where it's like every tone in the shadow side of a face is going to be darker than any tone in the light side, and that's not wholly without value, but it's real easy to get kind of dogmatic and stop looking at what you're doing. And I find that's one of the worst things you can do, is stop paying attention to what you're trying to paint. Like if you're painting from imagination, it's just harder to get started, because it's so easy to get kind of complacent, and you get this kind of that's what I wanted, that shape that's almost there, that's what I really wanted, you know. It's a lot easier to be disciplined and rigorous with yourself if there's a thing sitting there staring you in the face going, yeah, but your fucking eye's in the wrong place. So as long as you're looking at that thing in front of you that you want to paint, if you've pre-mixed your tones and you're like, you know what, I don't have the tone that I want, not exactly. If you've got the discipline to get in there and make it when you need it, then I don't see any harm in pre-mixing, I guess, is the long way of saying that.
Yeah, so that took so long. I went upstairs to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
You were still going.
I was still doing it. That happens with painting. So you were asking about whether you were missing a blue, Chuck. And if you mix your white and ivory black together, it should make a nice cool tone. I may have undermixed my blue into my, because this is about what I'm getting today. But it does depend a little on the brand of paint that you're using. Like some ivory black is very blue. So if you find that you're getting like it won't be a bright blue, but you're getting a little bit of a blue, that's good. If you find that you can't get anything in the blue family, grabbing a tube of blue that you can amend your ivory black with a little bit isn't the worst idea in the world. You should be able to get something like a blue, something like a green. Out of this palette. You are going to be a little bit restricted. Sometimes you can lay colors in side by side. So if you put like a warmer, redder tone next to a light, the yellow and white mixed together, it might, or yellow and black mixed together, it might read a little greener. Well, it will read greener than it would, but you aren't going to get like super bright colors. You're going to get, again, a nice muted tone. But it's a good way to learn to push the color that you do have and try and find tones that work. But I also wouldn't say it's cheating to add just a little bit of stronger colors into your palette.
How would it be cheating? Cheating at what?
It's a so this was the one of the palettes that I started learning with. We were restricted to just using the ivory black, titanium white, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. And it is useful to try and learn like just how much color you can get out of how little color you have on your palette. But one thing that wasn't explained to me at the time that I think should have been was the primary use for the palette isn't to learn how to do stuff through like arbitrary restriction. It gives you a nice color harmony. Just by the nature of using that palette.
Okay. Tones are kind of samey.
Because all the tones are kind of samey, and you're having to mix things a lot. Whereas, like, if you're new and you've got a full big palette of colors, it's real tempting to just be like, I need a green, so I'm gonna get a green tube of paint. Instead of going, how, you know, can I mix this yellow and blue, or even this yellow and black? So you get a lot from it, and it does like people who obviously have been painting for a long time, and people who've been like, you know, it's not like they don't have other paint, they're still using this palette because it does work. but there's no harm in sticking a little bit of extra blue in your ivory black if it's not quite getting the job done for you. I'm not gonna go crazy on the neck anatomy. What time is it? 9 o'clock. Okay, got another hour to go. So I'm not 100% where I would normally want to be on getting all of her parts in the exact right place. But I'm gonna forge ahead a little bit.
You're trying to get it done?
Because I'm trying to get it done. So now I am working with very little medium in my paint, and I'm piling a little bit more in the brush and touching a little bit more delicately to get some paint added on. Gonna pick out some of the more highlight areas. Now she doesn't have any particularly strong like small highlights going on. She's got more areas of high value, like brightly lit skin tone. Which might be a little awkward.
Awkward for you to do?
Awkward for you to do. It might come out. Oftentimes the painting comes out better if you've got like a strong highlight.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, yeah, if she's got like big areas that are pretty much blown out, tapped out, almost all the way to white, it doesn't give you anywhere to go to get that real white. So I might just add the tiniest bit more color into some of these areas that look pretty much fully bright, just to give myself the room. But I'm not going to go nuts with it, because I do want to kind of show how to paint. Like if you wanted to do as exactly this photograph as possible, but I'm going to save myself just a little bit of brown. So at this point, I am paying a lot of attention to the direction of my brush strokes too, because I'm almost sculpting with the paint. I'm still not painting super thick areas, but I'm definitely adding a little bit more a little more paint.
Are you gonna add in an ugly face?
In an ugly face? What? Oh, am I going to add in an ugly face? The ugly face is built in to this particular method of painting, because you start super rough. What paint is referring to is sometimes to get exciting color, you can exaggerate and punch up some colors in an underlayer, even like to the point of using some almost random color. But we're not doing that today.
You said you always have to.
You don't always have to do anything. For the kind of painting that you wanted to do, it's very helpful.
Is this that guy again?
What? No, actually no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
It's another one of those do as I say, don't do as I do things.
No, it's one of those, it doesn't make sense in this particular exercise kind of things. Because we're not trying to do what what Payne was trying to do.
What's she trying to do?
She was trying to do pictures, like paintings of kaiju with very bright colorations.
Mm. Yeah, that makes more sense.
It's a very different animal than this here. Yeah, Ultraman villain mini paintings are definitely not this. Also, that was acrylic, not oil. It's a lot harder to do a crazy coat with oil because you're not doing coats per se. I'm going to try and get this eyelash shape. But yeah, you do slightly different things. When you're trying to paint. In different ways and different styles and different methods. Yeah, the use of the crazy layer is to help liven up the colors in a painting. If I was going to do it in an oil painting, it would be, well, I'd probably have to do it later in the process. I might do it on this a little bit. It won't be crazy so much, but punching up a really bright like lip might be a thing.
Is this one okay?
Yes, there was one that looked like it was covered in Christmas lights, basically.
Painted?
Yeah. One of the kaiju monsters.
Oh.
He's basically made out of Christmas ornament bulbs. So I am may have gone a little too crazy on the crazy eyes. I think part of the problem is I'm sitting slightly off center on this.
Chuck says his is far from yours.
This isn't necessarily the easiest way to learn how to paint, because of how hard it is to not add too much paint. Well, I was trying to give the camera a slightly better angle, so I'm at a slightly worse angle for actually painting. So she looks like, if I really scooch my head into the camera, her one eye is positioned a little off. But yeah, this definitely, painting like this definitely takes some practice, and it definitely is not it's definitely not impossible to screw this up. I think let's see, what would be the easiest and best thing to
You're
do?
trying to keep it angled to see the camera.
Yes, because if I push the camera off to the side further, then she'd look really funny and super keystoned. Like, you can definitely see the canvas doesn't look square to you guys.
Most people watching would kind of understand that.
Yeah, but it also doesn't. I'm not saying they won't understand it. I'm just saying it's awkward and it's not a good angle to view it from.
Yeah.
So I turned the easel a little bit so the camera could have a better view. Which means I'm kind of looking at her from a weird angle. So I'm trying to avoid that messing up her proportions. So yeah, I guess one thing I can say, Chuck, is take some photographs of your painting along the way, and I will give them a peeky poo and see if I can
Might have been useful advice. Like
point
an
out
hour and a
anything.
half
It might have
ago.
been useful advice an hour and a half ago. It's fine. I mean, I can still kind of tell. I could take a pretty good guess what's being hard to do. Cause yeah. This is just, you know, it's not, painting isn't the easiest thing of ever. It's not impossible. And if you already sculpt, you'll learn pretty quick, but yeah, it's not nothing. And I would definitely not say this is coming out as a great painting. Oh.
It's better than what I would do.
Well, if I kept tweaking on this and fixing stuff up, and I might have to literally move this eye. Well, I'd have to move a few things. That's hard. That's going to be hard to do. But, you do wait a little bit. I probably won't be adding super duper like near black shadows, but I would tend to leave myself some space for more tones. So yeah, there's for the sake of the painting, I added a little bit more kind of round to her eye. It doesn't show that much on camera. She's got a very kind of flattened, some of the tones got squashed in the image. Almost out of my dark color. I'm gonna need to mix up a little bit more. Yeah, it also looks a little unusual on camera, I think.
What?
It also looks a little unusual on camera, I think. The darker tones that I have on here are coming off a little more brown than they are right in front of me.
Mm.
I'll try and get a decent photograph after stream. That might be hard to do too. Let's see what color I got. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, the deeper shadowier areas tend to be a little bit thinner in most paintings. Just in terms of, like, you usually have more built up paint in lighter areas and a little thinner paint in darker areas. Some of it's down to just the actual, like, no, the quality of a lot of your darker colors is they tend to lend themselves to transparency a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas your lighter colors tend to be very opaque. It's not like 100% of the time, but quite often. It's also like a historical thing too. A lot of the old painters did a lot of their heavy impasto thickly painted areas in the lighter flesh tones, and the darker stuff was thinner. So, you know, you get a little bit of, well, if Rembrandt did it, I should probably do it that way too. Kind of thing. What is our... I think I may... Oh, no, maybe not. Well, that's new. Gotta grab a little bit more paper towel and run through mine. Thinking about a little bit of design stuff too. Throw just a little bit of her dress in, kind of as a framing, and also to
The music is very much.
could be the fumes. It could be.
I need to get more, like, kind of lo-fi, mellow stock stuff.
I mean, dogs like painting too. We had a puppy we were fostering for a little while, and
Would you paint it?
yes, Roji Panty Complex. I used to tuck them up in an extra t-shirt, kind of baby Bjorn style, and wear him while I was painting. He was into it. But yeah, do you find the fumes are problematic, Chuck? Because I think I used to find when I was painting, if I was painting real regularly, it never bothered me. But if I would take some time off painting and then come back to it, I'd get a headache quite often. Well, it's good it is good the fumes don't bother you.
I don't enjoy it, but I think I'm managing fine.
Well, I'm really using almost no thinner for this too. Yeah, at this point I've been using pretty much just straight from the tube paint for the past 10 or 15 minutes or so. But I will show you. So if I get some...
You know what I should do?
What?
Take this recording and like fast forward it to like a minute and a half or whatever, and then I'll post it. Because I haven't moved the camera at all, right?
Yeah.
So we'll just kind of grow a painting.
Oh.
If it's super fast.
So if I'm laying down some like fairly heavy paint here, kind of like a speed painting video.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to add a nice bright spot into that, if I take just paint that was pretty much straight from the tube, if I try and take straight from the tube, it kind of works. Like I can get it to work without any kind of smudgy smeary. But you've got to kind of like really pile up paint on your brush, and you're not actually touching the canvas or the board with your brush. If I take that white paint and add a little bit of medium to it, just kind of thin it out a little, and kind of pile it up, it should grab that. Yeah, see, I can get a really clean little blips and blobs like that. That's kind of the idea behind the thin paint sticks to thick paint, and thick paint sticks to thin paint kind of thing. It's too dark.
Tiffany.
Got all your handles on? Just try to clean up
I even got
these.
20 minutes to spare. Look at that.
Nice. Try to clean up these eyebrow. Make it a little more specific.
left one in the wet box. I'm a carpet.
Okay. Now I'm trying to correct a couple of small things. I'm actually pushing a little bit harder and scrubbing a little more with the brush to move paint around rather than apply new paint. And I'm just kind of blending some of this in. Because I don't like how much contrast there is on this side of the face. This is getting to the point where it's really more about making it look right in the painting than necessarily getting it to look exactly like the photograph. Which again, normally this would be a little fast. I would tend to get the painting a little bit more right, a little more correct before I try to get it to look better, but we're doing the fast version. So I'm looking for areas like at the throat here. If there's a nice warmer tone, and I'm going to take advantage of that because that will help bring that area forward. I'm blending off some of the areas on this side of the face to try and like smooth things a little, reduce the contrast a little bit. But then I want to add a little contrast around the teeth and the mouth, because that's an area of focus. And she has these like very pronounced sort of little wrinkles at the corner of her mouth that sort of make her look like her. They're important to her character. Or important to her face, I guess. I'm going to soften this area back up. Feels slightly awkward. Like it's making her nose too strong. So I'm going to smooth that and blend it. Just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to re-add this area of highlight to the tip of the nose, because she's kind of got one of those little noses that kind of points up at the end. this out. And try and find some areas on this sort of three quarters of the way to the right on her face. It could use a little more contrast because that will help establish the light side of her face. Something in this likeness isn't perfect. I'll tell you that. Kind of like this little area right on her eyelid. It's very specific to her face. She has kind of prominent lower lids. Got about, what, 15 minutes left. Break out the bright red paint. This one happens to be alizarin crimson, cadmium red. Yep. Lizard and crimson?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a good name for a rock band. Yeah, cadmium red would work just as well. Cadmium red may have to do, depending on if this is... Nope, it got some in there. Just had a little bit hardened up on the tip. I will say, if you happen to find cadmium red that isn't labeled cadmium red hue, don't buy it. That stuff is unduly toxic, and the cadmium red hue works just fine. You're super unlikely to find real cadmium red. I don't think there's anybody still making that stuff. But yeah, there's a reason. It's grotesquely toxic. All right, I'm gonna add a little bit of bright red, just for the sake of the contrast. Because her vampire mouth is really a focal point for this painting. Wiping 98% of this off my brush. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that into the cheek area. And I don't see it, but it should be there logically on this cheek too. deeper there. Ooh, gotta get rid of that. So I'm just using a little bit of medium to wash my brushes in. Typically don't actually have to wash a brush during a painting. Unless you're working with very strong color like phthalo or a Prussian blue. Those, just the tiniest little bit, and your brush will get everywhere. Add in a mid-tone. Something. Her eye needs to be more open on this side. Little bit. Shadow next to her fang on that side, a little bit on this side. Kind of just making little adjustments at this point. So let's see, what else does it need? Oh, looks like I mixed a little more blue in with my brown to make this second black. So I'm getting a little stronger greeny tone. Scrub that in real good. Oh shit, no, that's just the regular brown. That's not what I thought I would be getting. Gonna run out of French sienna. Hate my tripod.
Same way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is kind of a lot. It's fine. Just means I have a good excuse for this painting not being great. fill out this hair a little bit more. Get this warmer.
You know, we could try.
What?
Moving it kind of so that it's behind you and looking over your shoulder and then zooming.
I mean, we could.
Not right now.
Not now, but like. I mean, it's okay for sculpting because the angle isn't as bad. Like, it doesn't show as much because there's no square canvas to show you just how keystoned it is. Yeah, I mean, I'm not terribly disappointed with mine. With my little demo painting. It has its problems, but it shows the procedure well enough, I think. The one thing I'm genuinely unsure of is choice of paintbrushes for people. I can get the vast majority of a painting done with something like this, on this scale anyway. I would want something bigger if I was going to do a huge painting, but I genuinely don't need to go much smaller than this. This is this is probably number 4 or so filbert, 4 or 6 depending on which manufacturer you're using. You can use a teeny tiny paintbrush. And it might make your life a little easier for doing some smaller stuff. I would say it's a good practice to use the largest brush that is not chapping your ass. Unless you're paying, in which case I would say use the largest brush you can possibly stand to use, and then slightly bigger than that. Because I know your proclivities. But in general, if you get used to it and you get your hand in, you can get pretty small marks out of a much bigger brush. And you probably don't need much finer detail. At least for a painting like this, you definitely don't need to go finer than that. It will probably not improve your painting. But if you're really trying to get in, if you're finding it awkward to get a little mark that you need to make, that's why they still make smaller brushes. Like, even in like proper professional like artist brushes, the smaller ones still exist. Because they have their place. Let's just pop on the teeth. So it looks like we're just about done here. Hope that was helpful. If there's any last minute questions or things that could be cleared up. Oh, very cool. I will take a look at that, and I will see if I can be any use. Thanks, Payne. I hope you had fun watching me paint something in the least pain-like way possible. Maybe we can do a
entirely possible.
It's entirely possible. Chuck, this is not like the easiest way to paint to get started either. It really isn't. It takes a lot of
Yeah, would you be willing to do a paint along again?
yeah. We could do a paint along at some point. Well, I'm glad you're still excited by the process, Chuck.
Are you glad you didn't ruin it for me?
Yeah, glad I didn't ruin it for you. Yeah, no, I think other than the gosh, he looks different depending on which way I sit.
Here, actually, you want to shove over?
Yeah. Let's see if we can get a picture for the end of the stream. Hit your toes.
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay. gonna try and.
A little. I don't know if I can go that way with this.
No, you
Try
can't.
it.
Well,
Not quickly anyway.
I will get a good photograph of it and put it on the Instagram.
Yeah, that's not.
It's super blown out, but it's a that it ain't. But I hope it helped. Have a good night.
All right, folks. Later.
Apologize to your wife, Chuck, for having the worst possible time slot for you. Night.